Hi there, my name is Manish Goel. I'm the CEO and co-founder for TrustSphere. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about relationship analytics or network analytics or organizational network analytics as it's sometimes known. Firstly, if you think about the human capital equation, we often talk about individual skills and capabilities as a competency. We think that there's a second set of competencies that are really important, and it's their social capital. So it's not just their capabilities, but also their social capital. It's their connectivity. How well are they connected within an organization? How well are they connected outside of an organization? How well are they collaborating? That to date has been relatively elusive to measure. From a leadership perspective in particular, we've all heard the saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. We think it's not only what you know, but also who you know that matters when it comes to business. So in the Holy Grail so far has been looking at an individual leader's IQ and EQ. Being able to get that IQ and, getting leaders with strong IQ and strong EQ is what everybody's looking for. Again, we think there's a third dimension, and that third dimension is something that we call RQ. It's about their connectivity. It's about their ability to influence. It's about the impact that they can have on the organization based specifically on where they sit within the graph. What TrustSphere has built is a relationship analytics platform. It allows an organization to understand from within the organization how people are connected, how individual employees are connected internally, and how individual employees are connected to the external world, so customers, suppliers, and partners. And the way that we're doing that is by analyzing communication flows ethically. And communication flows, for example, we look at things like email, we look at things like collaboration systems, so Slack and Microsoft Teams. We take historic data where we can get that data, but those raw signals, those raw communication flows, we synthesize and build into what we call the enterprise relationship graph. And that enterprise relationship graph really is an explanation, if you will, of how an organization is functioning how does it collaborate? Does it operate as silos? Who are the influencers in the organization? And we've built this in a way to actually operationalize network analytics. So people talk about O&A as being organizational network analytics. We refer to it as operationalizing network analytics. It's taking the rich signals that come from the communication flows in an organization and allowing you to make a set of decisions which help you change the way a business operates or a business functions. Our clients are using this in a couple of different ways. One, to improve the sales process, but secondly, to really understand and improve the employee experience programs as well. Today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we're doing from an EX perspective in particular. So from an O&A perspective, or from a network analytics perspective, our clients are using this in three main ways. One is to improve leadership and talent. The second one is around diversity and inclusion, in particular measuring inclusiveness. And the third one is around understanding how teams operate. So who are the influencers? What's the level of collaboration? How is collaboration occurring across different parts of the organization? For large change programs such as post-merger integration, are organizations actually integrating, or are they remaining relatively siloed? For sales teams, are sales teams engaging with their customers? Are they engaging with the right customers? As well as just broadly across supporting digital transformation as a whole. When it comes to leadership and talent, if you think about it, there are a couple of different ways that our clients are using this really to help leaders become better leaders and improve their RQ or their social capital, to help accelerating onboarding, to make sure, and I'll talk about a couple of case studies on that, as well as really helping to identify or level the playing field when it comes to identifying high potentials within the organization. Clients often ask us how is the best way to approach network analytics. There's a number of really important points. One is ethics are incredibly important to TrustSphere. Secondly, legal compliance is extremely important to us, and ensuring legal compliance for our clients is incredibly important. When it comes to ethics, first and foremost, a couple of things that we do not. So in terms of the process of building the graph, a couple of things we don't do. We don't analyze content. We never analyze the content of messages. We don't even look at subject lines. So we're interested in understanding the relationship network, but we do it by understanding things like how long have I known someone, how frequently do they correspond, Do they write to me when I write to them? How quickly do they respond? Are they in the to or the CC field? So we're looking at elements which are not to do with the content, which protects individual privacy. From an ethics perspective, we're very strong on being able to understand, and we guide our clients to making sure of three things. One, making sure there's something, first of all, making sure that they're transparent in terms of the process, why they're using the technology. So why they're using this particular set of data, to what are the problems that they're solving. So being transparent with staff. Secondly, obviously from a legal compliance perspective, ensuring that they are compliant with the local legislation, including GDPR. And the third one is making sure that there's something in it for the employees. We're very strong on democratizing that data. The data, from our perspective, people analytics shouldn't just be about the people, but it should be for the people. It should be for employees and giving employees value back. And we've built our technology to ensure that employees get value from visceral value from the use of the technology. Again, if you look at this slide here, a lot of our clients ask us, how do we approach network analytics? For us, we've built this into a set of use cases where on the bottom left-hand corner, bottom right-hand corner, you start with some of the simpler projects all the way through to some of the more advanced projects. Again, the idea is to be able to give benefits back to individuals, give benefits back to teams as a whole, and understand how teams are functioning, as well as the organization as a whole. I'm going to quickly walk you through a few case studies. One's around identifying influencers. This is a fairly straightforward one, but it's a nice on-ramp for organizations who are looking to start with network analytics and bring the method of network analytics into their organization. Use case here, a financial services organization, around 8,000 people. We used to use 800 managers as their core stakeholder group from an influence perspective, or to drive change. What they asked us was, is there a smarter way of doing it? So we conducted a network analysis using passive data, so using email data. We identified 300 influencers who had similar networks to the 800 managers, but what was interesting is they had deeper networks. So whilst managers had their networks at the N-3, N-4, N-5 levels, what we were able to do is identify people. The influencers we identified had networks much deeper at the N-5s, N-6, N-7 level. And so effectively it allowed the organization to reduce cost and increase effectiveness of any change. So identify the change ambassadors that they wanted to enlist for that change, for digital transformation. Second one's around onboarding. This is a very simple but interesting use case. In fact, the use case that we have here, a lot of our clients we're finding from the 0 to 18. So for new hires, think of 0 to 18 months. The attrition rate for them is in the 20 to 25% rate. And one of the biggest reasons for that is that employees aren't becoming entrenched into the organization. So we built a solution, or developed a solution, which is what we call our onboarding report. And what it does specifically, it helps individual employees understand, and their managers understand, whether a new hire is becoming entrenched within the group or not. So effectively, we're providing a list of at the onset, providing a list of all the key connections, both internal and external, that an individual needs to build in the first 3 or 6 months. And we provide a report every month, which allows a manager and an employee to better understand whether they are building the relationships that are essential for success. And what we're finding with our clients is those who are building those networks internally tend to have a lower attrition rate. The third and the last case study, I've got one more after that. The third case study I'll talk about is sales. So one of the biggest, one of our clients asked us specifically, does RQ, so does the relationship capital actually correlate with sales performance? So we did a study for them to show very simply that they provided us with goal attainment, so the performance, which is significantly exceeds, meets, or inconsistently meets. What we did is we plotted the RQ, which is this over here, the strong external relationships and internal relationships. What we found, surprise, surprise, was that performance and RQ are strongly correlated. The way that our client was using this as part of a transformation is to understand that if you were looking at a straightforward sales transformation, you would normally just take out the group on the left-hand side, the low performers. What you can see, though, here is there's a set of people who have high RQ within that particular environment. These are ones that the client looked at as a double check before they did any level of transformation. And from a coaching perspective, this is where the client would look at for this particular pool to actually invest in, because they can become potentially high performers. The last case study I'll talk about today is just on inclusiveness, is on D&I. So diversity is relatively easy to measure. Inclusiveness is much more difficult. Networks give you a very clear view as to whether a group is being included or not included. I won't say excluded, but is not being included. So we built what we call the D&I MRI. The D&I MRI allows an organization to take a scan across the organization using anonymized data or de-identified data, and we're looking at it only at the team level, but it allows you to do an MRI effectively across an organization to understand areas, or specific areas where there might be a degree of homophily. Are you familiar with homophily? No? Homophily means, have you heard the saying, birds of a feather flock together? Effectively, that's what we're doing. We're understanding whether men have a preference, exhibiting an unconscious bias to work with other men. Likewise with women, are they building an unconscious bias to work with other women? What we're identifying in the green zones, if you look at the red zones, orange zones, and green zones, what we're identifying is green zones are where there is highly diverse networks. On the red zones are where there is homophilous, or networks where there is a statistically significant deviation from the base population towards a high degree of working with people like yourself. The idea here is basically to allow a D&I officer to have a scan across the organization and understand where an intervention needs to be placed, or where an intervention would be most helpful. So, thank you. I think I've just about run out of time. So look, thank you very much for listening today. And look, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to ask. I'd be happy to answer them. So thank you.